Prime-time local news, serving the Lakeland and Midwest regions.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Primetime Local News, officially October.
Look at that.
I know, already went by so quick, and everyone's talking NAFTA today. And
Wow.
Gerard has our agriculture angle on that today.
Yeah, I think for folks in the dairy industry, supply management has been in the crosshairs like a whole bunch. So we have a chat with Alberta Milk to find out their take on it, but you can already guess what it is.
Yeah, exactly. A lot of dairy farmers not too pleased with the new deal. And Josh has a big story today on the big game that happened on Friday.
Yes, indeed. We look back on the decisive victory that was for the Lloydminster Barons. And yeah, looking forward to another week of Bobcats and Wrestlers.
Awesome. Okay, we look forward to both those stories, but first we're going to toss it over to Elise for your top stories.
Today marks the day that minimum wage in Alberta goes up from $13.50 to $15 an hour. And even though that sounds great for the average worker, the wage hike could cause more harm than good. For local mom and pop businesses, this change means having to find ways around hiring workers and replacing them with technology instead because they can't afford to pay them.
I started to streamline our business to have more automated ways to order and pay. Instead of having live humans answer the phone and things like that, we're going websites and apps and things like that because I don't have to pay hourly wage at that point.
Andrew sees how this wage increase looks good on paper, but for him and many smaller businesses, this could mean not being able to hire workers, which actually eliminates jobs instead.
We understand that the average person wants to make more money, but at the same time, I can't charge $20 for a soup and sandwich. So it's hard to pay those people that wage at the product I sell.
Saskatchewan's minimum wage goes up to only $11.06 an hour, along with Manitoba going up 20 cents, but Alberta's increase is the highest in the country. And Boston Pizza was the first place in Lloydminster to have an automatic external defibrillator on the premise. However, as Brett Holden reports in this week's retrospect, the growth of the use of an AED has become more and more common every day.
As part of a push to make automatic external defibrillators, or AEDs for short, more common, Boston Pizza has signed on as the first restaurant chain in Canada to have the devices on location.
Evidence shows that an AED can save a life, and so if we can invest in saving one life, it's a wonderful, wonderful thing.
That opinion is shared by Alan Kendall, manager of Lloydminster Emergency Care Services.
Anytime that we can get a defibrillator to a person that is down with cardiac arrest and have it accessed and applied and used prior to our arrival, it always gives the patient a much better chance of survival.
Now today, an AED machine can be found in any major building in the border city, including the Service Sports Center, Centennial Hockey Arena, and the Lloyd Mall.
One of the most important things the members of the public can do when someone goes into cardiac arrest is get those pads on, start CPR. It's important to keep the brain full of oxygen, the heart pumping. Best way to do that is with AEDs.
And with the growth of the machine, education on the device has become more and more prominent in places like first aid classes.
I know like early classes on CPR, there wasn't a whole lot of, focus on AEDs, obviously, because they weren't around, they weren't as popular. I know now when you take a CPR course, you're using AEDs. They have old ones in there for people to practice with. For
This Week in Retrospect, I'm Brett Holden.
Retrospect this week is brought to you by Webbs-Ford. Worth your while to drive the extra mile. Webbs-Ford in Vermilion.
And now we're going to go to Connor Chan, who is at the Olive Tree.
Thanks a lot. I'm joined with Jan Ouellette here at the Olive Tree right now. Of course, Thanksgiving is coming up really soon. Now, Jana, you guys are putting on your community meal every year. I guess let's talk about the history, the background, behind of why you guys started doing this.
Yeah, for sure. So we first started, this will be our 5th year doing it. So Spiro kind of asked us back a little while ago, I guess now, to kind of step in and help out. And it's kind of just taken off from there. And we're super happy that we can host a community event for not only the people that come on here on a regular basis, but it's open to everybody.
You mentioned how it's for everybody, of course. Now, what's the turnout that you guys see every year? Has it grown? Have you seen big of a decrease, or what has been the turn up in like last few years?
It's been kind of a steady increase. We generally feed about 250 to 300 people. So with that, we try and do 2 seatings to fit everybody in here, especially with our new building. We do have a capacity, but that's how many people can go through. We do have tickets for the event, but it is a free community meal. We want everybody to come. We just use that to track kind of how much food to make.
Exactly. So you mentioned the community support that you guys have gotten off camera, Diamond 7 Meats, Safeways, and Sobeys. How big are they into an event like this?
It's essential for those community partners to kind of come alongside us and help support us. It helps keep our costs under control. And so grocers and just individuals donating and all the volunteers that it takes to actually prep everything and put on the meal is huge. We have a ton of volunteers, and that's how we run. So to have that, amazing.
For sure. Now, what are those 2 separate times? You mentioned there's 2 meal times. So what are those times?
So we have one starting at 4:30, and then we have one starting at 6. So it's just to kind of give a little bit of blocks, so 4:30 to 5:30, and then from 6 to 7. So we kind of have a little break to try and shuffle everybody out and shuffle more people in.
All right, well, thanks so much, Jana. We're going to be joining with Jana a little bit later on. We're going to talk about some of the farmers market as well as donations for the olive tree. But right now, let's toss it over to Michaela with your look at weather.
All right, thank you so much, Connor. We are currently sitting at 2 degrees here in the border city. We were actually closer to 1 degree all day, so we've actually gone up. Still cloudy, but the sun will peek through shortly. Just be patient. As we look to our satellite radar, here is a lot of snow. Southern Alberta is going to be hit quite hard tonight into tomorrow evening, up to 30 centimeters in some of those areas. We can see some of that precipitation did come into the Lloydminster area throughout the day, just on and off flurries, as we saw that started early this morning. Looking at our current temperatures now, Edmonton sitting at 3 degrees, Vegreville sitting at 4 degrees, 3 degrees in Provost and Macklin, and then as we move over into Saskatchewan, Meadow Lake is sitting at 3 degrees, Isle of Cross sitting at 4 degrees. As we look to our numbers into the broadcast area, Morph Battleford sitting at 2 degrees, mostly a mix of sun and clouds throughout the day, going to drop to a -3 overnight, but do factor in the wind chill. It's going to feel more like -8 in most of these areas tonight. Tomorrow going up to a high of 5 degrees. As we move into Cold Lake, cloudy currently sitting at 4 degrees, overnight dropping down to -4, and again that is going to feel more like -8. And tomorrow a mix of sun and clouds. The sun is going to try to peek through, and that's going to be a high of only 3 degrees. As we look to Lloydminster, currently sitting at 2 degrees. Like I said, we have gone up. We were sitting more around 1 degree all day, -4 tonight, and then 5 degrees tomorrow for our high. As we look into our 3-day forecast, 3 degrees tomorrow, 25% chance precipitation. Then on Wednesday, the sun is going to come out to play, and we are going to see that in throughout the week. It's going to come out more and more. 3 degrees as your high on Wednesday, -6 for your low, and then Thursday, 5 degrees and -6 for your low. I'll have more details, including details on that big snowfall in southern Alberta, a little bit later in the cast.
Welcome back. So Canada may have saved on the Chapter 19, the dispute resolution clause in the new NAFTA deal, but what concessions have we made to the Americans? Let's find out why Alberta Milk is not happy. A midnight deal may have saved NAFTA and peace in North America when it comes to U.S.-Canada trade relations, but the price seems high for supply-managed dairy as the results are being assessed. Mike Southwood has been with Alberta Milk since 2002.
Well, we've given up market access first of all, and that'll equate to about 3.59% of the butter fat that we produce in Canada. So, there would be more imported product coming in. We have confirmation from consumers that they really like the high quality milk and dairy products that we provide.
The new U.S.-Mexico-Canada agreement, or USMCA, is being touted on both sides of the border, but for dairy producers, Southwood says the loss includes fluid milk and access to cheese and butter. He hopes consumers will look for the Canadian-made product. Then there's the elimination of Class 7.
It was really a domestic market to better utilize the skim milk portion of what leaves the dairy farm. So butterfat's in demand, and skim milk comes. So we were better able to utilize the skim milk that comes as well, and in all products in Canada. So that's a big change for us, and we really need to work through how that elimination of Class 7 is going to impact us.
Another blow limits dairy exports across the board.
Seems odd to us that we would give up export opportunity even outside of the new agreement. You know, we're going to be monitored and have measurements on what we export anywhere.
This includes even the new TPP and the European deals. It affects skim milk powder, milk protein concentrates, and infant formula. It's still too early to quantify the consequences of the USMCA.
We feel we've been sacrificed under this agreement for whatever clauses they chose. Yeah, it's just really unfortunate.
Well, it's Animal Health Week, and there's a focus on making sure our furry friends are up to date with their vaccines. So we find out why this is also inclusive of our farm pets.
So the theme is Vaccines Save Lives. And so it's put on by the Canadian Veterinary Medical Association as an educational program. Every year is different.
Dr. Heaver says vaccines are important for preventing disease.
Most of the things we're vaccinating for are viruses, and so those, again, are very hardy, and depending on which species that you're talking about, it's about preventing disease and also about the human health component of some of these viruses. Some of them can transmit to people, like rabies virus, and so it's part of the One Health initiative.
So the bigger picture involves preventing the spread of disease from animals to people. Worldwide, more than 55,000 people die from rabies every year. Rabies is of concern in the Midwest, especially as many people, including hunters, interact with animals in the wild.
We get rabies reports from the government of Saskatchewan as well as Alberta, and we do get positive animals reported. The Macklin had some positive bats, and so we always get the report of in the year how many we're seeing, and we always see some.
Bats, skunks, and raccoons are some of the notorious carriers for rabies, and worldwide, 40% of people bitten are under the age of 15, so mainly children. Farm animals, including cats and dogs, need their shots.
Good girl. Good girl. We get a lot of people that say, oh, my dog never leaves the farm. But again, the wild population is coming onto your farm. So again, rabies is, we always recommend to vaccinate for rabies, even if your pets are indoors. There have been reported cases of, rabid bats inside buildings. But again, farm animals, parvovirus can be carried by coyotes.
Vaccination will help build up herd immunity for diseases like distemper, parvovirus, hepatitis, and reduce the spread.
That's where vaccines prime the immune system so that they can help fight off that.
Good girl. Just a reminder, Ag Life is on this evening on CKSA at about 7:30. And just before Josh Ryan comes in with the wonderful world of sports, let's have a look at our ag prices.
City Center Auto Body is proud to offer the paintless dent removal system. This works by going behind the panel, working out small dents. Lloydminster's trusted auto body shop for over 35 years.
Thank you, Gerard. The excitement heading into the latest clash on the gridiron between Holy Rosary and Lloyd Comp was as palpable as it's ever been. And while things started off as a competitive contest, the final result was something few predicted. Wheatland Football's two top programs entered Friday's contest hyped after a summer-long wait for the rematch. And after the final whistle, it was the road team that was able to scream in satisfaction.
I feel like we really took it to them this time and brought all of our effort. It's actually good to see all this hard work paying off.
It's always nice to beat a really good team and a really good program, but I just think it shows what we're capable of.
The first quarter was a shaky start for both teams, but the Barons were able to escape with a 7-0 lead as the Raiders couldn't string together anything offensively.
The first quarter we missed some coverages and they missed some wide open receivers and we got pretty lucky.
We couldn't move the ball. Can't get a first down. You're not gonna put points on the board. So thought our defense did okay. We obviously made some mistakes there, but on the offensive side of the ball, we just didn't do anything. It's a bad night to have a bad night.
In the second half, the Barons switched tactics and cracked the game wide open.
They started to play some pretty tight coverage and we were able to run the ball with our offensive line and our running backs and it really opened some things up on the outside. So if we can continue to do that, we're going to be pretty tough to stop.
Those O-linemen all worked their butts off for just a couple yards, and I really appreciate it. So I get all the attention, but the attention should go to more for the O-line as they're always blocking and always making those big holes.
Lloyd Comp hosts Bonnyville at Armstrong Field on Thursday, while the Raiders are off to Wainwright in a bounce-back week. But Oreo is stressing not losing sight of where the squad is at here at this point of the season.
It's September 28th, so we know where we are and what we have to do, but let's not forget it's September 28th.
That's it for me in sports, and we'll now head back over to the Olive Tree with Connor Chan.
Back again with Jana Lett from the Olive Tree, and we're in the middle of the thrift store right now, but we're talking about donations, not only with clothes, but also food. We'll start with food. I guess how big of a need is it now for you guys heading into this time of year?
Fall is always a busy season for us. A lot of our programs start back up again, so all of our breakfast and lunch programs with the schools that we have partnerships with, some of the other programs that we offer, it just all kind of kicks into high gear. So it just takes a lot more to feed everybody. For our free community meals, we tend to see a rise in our numbers in this season as well. So that takes extra food. And then as well with our food rescue program, anything that we accept, we get to distribute out to other organizations and other things in need in the city as well.
Now you're telling me it's not just perishable needs. You need a lot of different things. So what are some things that you tend to look for?
We honestly accept everything. Lots of people don't think that we do, but we love it. Even if you have extra surplus from your gardens from the summer that you dug up, anything like that, we love. Canned goods, the meat, produce, anything. Yeah.
And now as we're getting into winter, it's getting colder, and now the need for clothing donations like jackets, boots, all that kind of stuff is very important. I guess to talk about the need that you guys are really wanting here at the Olive Tree, receiving those donations.
Yeah, so obviously with the seasonal stuff, we always tend to be short on like winter boots and jackets and warm clothing, especially with different people in need at this time of year when the weather's getting a little chillier outside. So we love to see that. I always say if someone's out shopping getting something new and you feel like you should donate your old stuff, we would love to accept it. It helps, not only the thrift store helps fund our other programming, but it also just helps people when they come in need of a jacket or something, some warm clothes.
So is the best place for people to come donate? Is it here at the Olive store, the thrift store itself, or is it in bins around the city that you can find?
It's whatever works for you. We have bins around the city just so it's accessible for everybody. They can also come to the thrift store. They can drop it off here. We have some great volunteers in the back that always make you feel welcome. And yeah, so anything that works for you works for us.
Absolutely. Well, thanks so much, Jana. We'll be back later with Jana in the show, but right now let's send it back to the studio and check in with them.
All right, well, as Elise just told us, Alessia Cara will be headlining the halftime show at this year's Grey Cup, which will be hosted in Edmonton. So today's question of the day was centered around that. Will you be tuning in to the halftime show? A lot of people said nope. Even someone weighed in on our Facebook page saying she has tickets to the Grey Cup, but she will be in the beer gardens during the halftime. I'm familiar with Alessia Cara. I'm a fan, but you are a sports fan, and you just had to look her up because, is this a good pick for the Grey Cup?
I mean, the same argument was made ultimately when Justin Bieber was picked as the halftime host. But at the end of the day, that is about attracting in a larger audience. So if you want to have more,
audience even.
And possibly a younger audience, the CFL does tend to have an older audience. So again, a larger audience is going to happen from getting that that hot name or that rising star, as it were. And I think that could be the case here.
She is, and it is nice to see. A lot of people were saying, well, at least it's a Canadian, so it is nice to see that a Canadian. But on our poll on Twitter, it's coming in. 55% of you say yes, and 45% of you say you won't be tuning in, which not surprising. It was sitting at 50-50 most of the day, so more people are now saying that yes, they'll be tuning in. But
I'd be curious to see the analytics of the folks who are voting on that poll. And I mean, it is pitching towards a younger demographic. Let's be honest about it.
It doesn't seem like the Grey Cup demographic that that is her fan base. So it's an interesting choice, but you still have time to weigh in on our question of the day on all our social media platforms. But now it's the best part of the day. It's time for Pet of the Day. And we crowned our winner last week. And so you still have a chance to win another Pet Pad gift card. This is Chester, and this was sent in to us by Karen. And super cute there. And then we have Reba and Ruger. And this is Ruger. He was meeting his new little sister, Reba. And this was sent to us by Monique. And then we have Charlie Sheen. Yes, that is the cat's name, in a full Batman costume there. That was sent to us by Janelle.
Getting ready for Halloween.
Yes, and this is Jasper, super fluffy pup there. That was sent to us by Tammy. And then last but certainly not least, this is a beautiful cat. This is Molly, and that was sent to us by Jody. I know, beautiful. If you have a pet of the day you want to send to us, do so on our Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram, or by email, and you'll be entered to win a Pet Pad gift card.
I vote Charlie Sheen.
We want to see your pets. Send photos of your pet and their name to our Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram to have them featured on Pet of the Day. Your name will be entered into a weekly draw for a gift certificate from the Pet Pad.
All right, well, over the weekend, the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints was out in full force collecting food donations for the Salvation Army here in Lloydminster, and I'm now joined with Billy Keane. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Thanks for having me.
So let's start off with how overall did the food drive go? You guys hit your goal.
Yeah, we hit our goal. We had a goal of 12,000 pounds, and so we were able to exceed that goal by hitting 12,045 pounds.
Wow.
So it was a great success. It was definitely an improvement.
And so this is the most that you guys have collected,
This
correct?
is the most to date that we've collected. So we're always looking to increase our numbers and to help out as much as we can each year.
That's great. And why does the church get involved in this food drive every year? It's the biggest one of the year. So why is it important that you guys get involved?
Well, we believe that we are here to help our neighbors as much as we can. Jesus Christ said that we should serve one another. And so this is one of the ways in which we as a church are here to serve the community. There's lots of people that need support and help. So this is one of the biggest ways in which we can support and help people that are in need.
Exactly. And you guys, obviously, it's all based on volunteers, especially you said you had a few people come out from the community, but the majority of these volunteers are from the church. So, and it wasn't just on Saturday. You guys have been out all week delivering the bags to everyone's home. So how integral are those volunteers in this process every year?
It's very integral. We couldn't do it without the numbers that we have to help support. So we have about, I would say, 90 families that go out to the community starting on Monday, the week before the Saturday pickup, to deliver bags to each home. And so families are out. Me and my daughters were out delivering bags. And then come Saturday, we go around collecting the bags off the doorsteps. And there was a huge turnout. We had lots of people donate, and the numbers speak for themselves, I guess.
Yeah, that's great. And it really is, a process. Everyone's sorting food, people are out collecting, so that's great to hear. And exactly what, the food bank's always in need. So what kind of items were you guys collecting, and what does the food bank always need?
They always are in need of just non-perishable food items, so lots of cans, just anything that's non-perishable. Anything that's not expired either. So we sometimes collect a lot of expired food, which they can't use all the time. So just anything that's non-perishable, they'll take anything for babies, because we didn't collect a lot of stuff for babies this year.
Okay.
But anything that will help support or feed babies is always needed as well.
Always needed. Well, I want to thank you so much, Billy, for joining me today to speak about this great event that was obviously such a success. So thank you for taking the time, and thank you for braving the cold weather over the weekend and doing that. I appreciate you being here.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hey, it's Toasty for Real Country 97.7. Here's what's going on in St. Paul and area. Today, old and young in the St. Paul area is a good chance to look at furthering or enhancing your education. Portage College campuses, including St. Paul, will be hosting open houses from 4 till 6. It's a chance to get to see what courses are offered, chat with current students, and learn about their experiences. Also, they're waiving application fees for students applying for academic foundation and college preparation. On Wednesday, the FCSS at the Oak Point Senior Center is hosting a seniors information session. Things like old age security, Canada's pension plan, Alberta senior benefits, and much more will be on the docket. The information session runs from 1:30 till 3:30. You think you got what it takes to keep a level head in a crisis? Think about signing up to volunteer at the Red Cross's Disaster Management Volunteer Information Night. On Wednesday from 7 till 9 at the town's administration building, Regional Emergency Coordination Center, learn to handle a crisis and be an integral part in helping ease the pressure of a disaster. The St. Paul Municipal Enforcement has launched a bicycle registry program. The goal is to make it easy returning found bikes that may have been stolen from their owners. All you need to do is email your bicycle make, model, and serial number to smissanchuck@town.stpaul.ab.ca. Find these events and more on our website, realcountrystpaul.ca. If you have an event you'd like us to feature on What's Happening, email me, toasty@realcountry.ca.
And welcome back. I'm here with Greg Buchanan, of course, for a weekly segment in sports. And it is a particularly unique weekly segment because NHL veteran Scott Hartnell, and a local native, obviously, or a native of this area, has announced his retirement now. I believe it's nearly a 20-year career for the winger. You got a chance to chat with him recently.
Yeah, we chat with him. He'll be on the Tuesday night sports show tomorrow night on Real Country 95.9. He is everything you saw him on the ice. He's a character. He is like that off the ice too. And 17 years of playing with Philadelphia, New Jersey, and also Columbus. And it unique for him because he gets drafted by Nashville. His last game is Nashville. He was looking for a contract during the offseason. It never came. I know he had discussions with the Rangers, but nothing really came out of that. Did a lot for charities. Unique for Scotty because there was a Twitter out there called Hartnell Down. Mm-hmm. And early in his career, this guy on Twitter was making fun of him falling down and counted the number of times he fell down. Right. Scotty reached out to him and turned that into a charity organization and raised millions of dollars for charities throughout the U.S. So that kind of turned something into a fan making fun of him into a great promotion for the charities that he helped out.
You see, both creative and wonderful in terms of the generosity given there. Hartnell, obviously, again, long career, many different NHL teams. It was also in a moment of prominence a few different times in his career. Obviously, Philadelphia, there was that run, that Stanley Cup final run, obviously noticeable with the Blue Jackets as well as the Predators. What do you think people will most remember him for in terms of his NHL career?
He was a guy that had, he'll be the first one to admit, had somewhat limited skill. The falling down is an aspect of that, but he worked hard. He was a good team guy in Philadelphia, known for the hair, known for being a tough guy in front of the net, known for sticking up for his teammates. So he was a hard-working kid that, proof positive that you work hard, good things can happen, and it did for Scotty.
Absolutely, and obviously he played long enough that he got a chance to see a lot of the United States and make a little bit of money over the course of his career, as well as raise money. Do you think there's, from talking to him, is there any element of missing out on winning certain team successes?
Well, yeah, he was knocking on the door. He was in a Stanley Cup final with the Philadelphia Flyers, had good runs with Nashville too. You know what, you're always, when you look back in your career, there's a lot of what ifs. You don't get a Stanley Cup ring, you don't win the big game, so there's going to be what ifs for Scotty, but a great career, a guy that went from 16-year-old kid playing AJHL with the Lloydminster Blazers back in the day, went on to the PA Raiders, was a solid captain for them in the WHL, and then went on to a great career in the NHL. So a lot of what-ifs, but just a tremendous career and a great ambassador, not just for the game of hockey, but a great ambassador for anybody that looks to him as a role model here in Lloydminster.
Yeah, and speaking of being a local role model, where does he rank amongst famous Lloydminster athletes? I mean, Braden Holtby is the hot one right now, obviously because of having won a Stanley Cup, but I mean, he's one of the most recognizable for sure.
Well, you can't with the red hair and the beard and everything. But Wade Redden's right there. Clark MacArthur, who just recently, unfortunately for him, had to walk away from the game because of concussion issues. But he knows right up there with some of those three great players that have come through here. Lance Ward's another one. Corey Cross is another one. So there's been a long list of NHLers that came through Lloydminster. And you're going to see more NHLers coming through. Cale Clegg right now with the LA Kings, Ty Smith, New Jersey Devils. So there's going to be, the new cycle of young kids coming in from this area onto the NHL.
Yeah, absolutely. And we will be back here in studio in the next hour for a little more chat, including especially important discussion about the big football game that happened on Friday. So we'll see you back in less than an hour.
All right, here's a look at our current numbers across the region. Currently sitting at 2 degrees here in the border city, same with North Battleford. A little bit warmer in Edmonton, sitting at 3 in Isla Cross, 4 degrees in Cold Lake, same with Meadow Lake, 1 in Provost, and only 2 degrees in Saskatoon. But I think we have to count our blessings because we are not seeing that massive dump of snow that southern Alberta is.
Yeah, keep it away.
I know, 30 centimeters. It's only October 1st, people. We don't want it. So, but if you are traveling down south, do keep checking in on those highway conditions. Highways near Banff are already partly covered in some areas, so do take caution as you hit the road down south, of course. And so we were talking Grey Cup because that's coming up next month, and people are weighing in on Twitter and on Facebook. On our Facebook page, most people are saying no, I will not be watching. So definitely an interesting discussion, and we'll continue talking about this next hour. So do weigh in on our social media pages on Primetime Local News, and we're going to stay here on CKSA.